it's me, Renee, and I'm back. So, I decided to do a little video that I don't think I made up, but it's not exactly a tag. Uh, but it's a video based on uh, my buzzwords for books. So, if you don't know buzzwords, are words that make you interested in books, that make you think, oh, that word is connected to this book. Now I have to have it. I mean, it makes you grab the book and just become immediately interested in it. It's a fun way of showing you guys what my reading style is and which books I love, what I look for in books, really. And so I just thought, why not? It's a fun little video to do. So my buzzwords, in no particular order, more or less, is time travel. As you can notice, I love time travel. Mary Curie is one of my favorite authors, and I've read a lot of time travel since her because of that. So a lot of my favorite books actually is time travel books. I love all the opportunity it gets, like how you can get the fish out of water aspects, but you have it in a different timeline, and or sometimes you have meetings between everyday people like you and me, and historic people like William Shakespeare, or like you have the different ways of doing it. Like sometimes it's a time slip, which I actually just learned about yesterday, where you just walk to some place and then you go to a different era, like in Outlander, where she walks to the rocks, while in, for example, Back to the Future, you have a car, so it's a time travel machine. In some places you have a machine. Some places you have time slips. Some places you have like in Ruby Red where you have blood and machine. And it's just I have often time travel. You can do so much different with it, and it's also often so much fun you can do it. Really, also, I really like it. Some people say they think time travel often confuses people, and it's often confusing. But honestly, I think if you think time travel is confusing, you're just reading the wrong ones. Personally, I don't really like time travel that much, where they meet themselves in different eras and stuff. I like it more where it's standalone or it's series, but they go to different time periods each time, so they can't connect with the same people and they can't screw up stuff. But of course, sometimes it does work out also when they meet themselves, like in Ruby Red. She meets herself, but it's not like, oh my god, it's so badly done or so confusing. It's a confusing at first, but after a while you understand it. So yeah, time travel. Probably might do a time travel appreciation video in the future, but right now, time travel. That's a big thing for me. Another buzzword for me is actually also witches. I really like witches. When I was young, I liked Harry Potter. I liked the worst witch in class. I liked Witches by Roald Dahl, and I think kind of like more or less always liked witches. So after a while, when I started finding new books, and yeah, I also really liked the Anna Dale books when I was Anna Dale book. She just has one book on witches. When I was 10, 11. I'll link it in a doobly-doo. I can't remember the name right now, but it's really fun. So yeah, Richards I really like. It's really fun. I like the feminist underlining of it. I like the power you have and how you have different wishes aspects. I don't like it when it's too traditional. I like it when it's more modern, where it's not just wands and stuff, but it's different, like charm or yeah. Well, not all just like charm, but yeah, I like it when I have different aspects of it really. So yeah, witches I really like. Sadly, I can't find that many good books on witches. I see some, but I don't find that many. I found more time travel great books than witches books, sadly. So if you have any witches recommendations, please recommend them to me in the comments. Please give them to me. And I'll just so you know, I've already read Hexel by Rachel Hawkins. I read Once a Witch by Carolyn McCullough. I read Hexed by Michelle Crease. It's a really good one, that one. freakingly scary, but it's a really good one. And other than that, I don't really know which other books there are out there. Witches, like modern day witches. I haven't read The Secret Circle. I saw it, so I suppose I might try to read that one. But I'm not that interested in that one. But I mean, just because I'm not interested does not mean it's not good. But anyway, moving on. So time traveling, witches. Also really like whenever a book has multiple POVs. Just not as long as it's not like 1,000 POVs. Like I like when it has 2 or 3, maybe 4. But if it gets 5 POVs, it just gets too much. That just gets confusing. I just no, that's just too much. I don't really like that. But yeah, I really like when there's several POVs and they're in the same. Either it's the protagonist and antagonist, or it's people from the same the friends, but you see first you see it from one point of view, and then you see the next day from the next point of view, and then oh, he didn't mean like that, and then thinks about what he did yesterday, and yeah. But yeah, multiple point of view done really good. I really like those. I think they're really fun. Another buzzword for me is LGBTQ. Recently, I've been reading more of those, and I think there's a lot of fun LGBTQ books, both romances and just randomly just LGBTQ experiences. I really like those. So yeah, I've been reading more of those lately. I want to read more of those. So if a book has an LGBTQ aspect plus aspects, I probably will check into it. My favorite at the moment is, I think, how to say, I think it probably is Everything Leads You by Neil LaCour. I think someone just recommended it the other day. Can't remember which booktuber. Someone did. Anyway, I read it in July, June. I really loved it. It's really cute and sweet and fun and full of heart, and it's just so good. Everything Leads to You by Lena LaCour. Check it out. Yeah, and other than LGBTQ plus, I also like other diversity aspects. Like if there's some mental aspects, mental illness, or mental aspect. You should just say illness now. Well, sometimes it is illness, but yeah, mental aspect with it, or if it's if it's a multicultural background, like those books with Indian Americans. I really like those ones. Like when Rimple met Rishi and in those series. Those when my Bollywood life, and yeah, those are really fun. So yeah, as I said earlier in another video, actually I'm trying to. I like books when you learn something new. So books about something I'm interested in or that I like but I don't know that much about, or that I like but uh, that's not like natural to me. Like anything that's not North European and Christian, it's fun because you just get to learn about it or learn more about something, and that's fun. And yeah, of course, the books are fiction, but they're based on real life. It's not like when you have a book where a character is Hindu, they make up everything. They base it on Hindu religion, on like how the Hinduism works. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, time traveling, witches, LGBTQ plus, multiple point of views, and diversity. Those are 5 of my buzzwords. I also really like a 6th buzzword for me is retellings. I really like retellings. If it's modern day like Gigarella, or if it's set in the future like Lunar Chronicles, or uh, whatever really. And if it's gender swapped. I just think it's fun to read retellings of known stories, or just stories I haven't heard of, but just see new ways of telling stories. I really like it. And a lot of time they're done really fun. Sometimes they kind of done better than the original. At least I think so. Like, oh, or you discover new aspects of like, oh yeah, that's a good aspect of the story because you realize uh, a character that's from the fairy tale and in a retelling, and you think, oh, I didn't think about that before you read the retelling. So sometimes it gives you a new appreciation for the story, really. So that's really fun. So yeah, I often grab for retellings. I do that. Other than that, humor. I need humor in all my books. I can read a book that's about war, set during a war, or a book that's set during a revolution or something like that. But if it doesn't have any humor in it or any humoristic character, I can't take it. No, no. I need humor in my books, or it's a no word for me, or it's a no book for me. Humor or no me. So yeah, that's also kind of, I suppose, main buzzword. So like, for example, if a book says on the cover that someone's blurbed it and says, I laughed so much, fell off my chair, or I laughed so much I peed myself, yeah, then I'll check it out. I definitely will. Other than that, I also really like I also really like historical books where you meet historical people. I think that's fun. So not just necessarily time travel where you meet historical people, but also historical settings where it's just in the hist- in a historical setting in the past. Because I think it's fun to see different imaginings of historical people, and also if you have historical settings as well. If you see it in the Second World War, the First World War, I think it's fun to read about like known settings and known people, but like in with of course it's not just known. They take some new aspects as well. And I really like that reimaginings of those kind of things, those kinds of things. Also, as you might have noticed, because of my absolute love for Atlantis and and Treasure Planets, and well, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I also really like The Road to El Dorado. So I kind of have this love for mythical places as well. So it's not just historical places, but um, historical places that you might have existed, might not, because Atlantis, there's some sources that said it happened, some says it didn't happen, and all that stuff. I like to think really cool if it did exist. So yeah, I really like books where you go to a mythical place like Atlantis or El Dorado. I haven't really read that many uh, with that aspect, but if there is, I definitely will check it out. I will check them out. No doubt about it. I also really like road trips. So a book where there's a road trip of any kind, both high fantasy where they have to go on a quest and go to some place, or if there's it's a contemporary and they're going across the country because they're taking a trip or because they have to get someplace by that date, like in Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, for example. Yeah, I really like trips. So that's another buzzword for me. If it's a road trip or trip book, I really am interested in it. Um, Also, I'm really interested in books where they like live in different places. For example, like Anne and a French Kiss, where American goes to live in France because you see the whole fish out of water aspect, and you see living in another country. And for me, I'm Norwegian. I actually lived other places, but I haven't lived all over the world. And I haven't lived in France, so it's kind of fun to read about how it is to live in France. Of course, it's not a documentary book, but it kind of gives you some aspects of living in France, I would assume. Um, so I think that's really fun. I also really like, because of that, Ink by Amanda Sun. It's actually a book about Japanese gods. So it's both about American having to live in Japan. So you have the whole living abroad aspect, but you also have Japanese myth and gods. So that's really cool. So yeah, mixing of two actually. Buzzwords. Yeah, I didn't say this as earlier. Uh, don't think I've said it at all. Okay, so next buzzword, myths. I really like anything having to do with myths. So Percy Jackson, Arusha, all the Rick Riordan Presents books. I haven't read all of them yet, but I plan to read most of them. I do. Uh, I like, as a lot of people probably do, I like the Roman and Greek myths, and I also like the Norse myths. Norse myths, I had a book of them when I was young. I read them, and I know some of them and stuff. Uh, and I think it would be fun to read more books with Norse myths, because I feel like all of the books with myths have either it's Greek retellings or it's Roman retellings, like all of them. So I think it's fun when you take a new myth, a mythical uh, aspect area. So, for example, if you take Norse mythology, but it's not that underused either, I think it is kind of known now as well, and it links to Vikings, so it's not that unknown. So I was really, really glad when Rick Riordan decided to start Rick Riordan Presents, because you then get to see all these different myths and beliefs from around the world. Like, there's coming a book, I think, next year with Mesopotamian myths, and that seems so cool. I'm just so excited for that one. So excited! So yeah, myths is a really good, really big deal for me. It is really big deal. Um, Other than that, I think I've actually kind of also like steampunk. I've been into steampunk lately. Well, I suppose it depends how you define it. I started reading steampunk by reading Gail Carriger's books, but actually some people say her books are more gaslight, and they don't have all that much steampunk in them. But they do have some steampunk, and they are on some steampunk lists, so I'm counting them. But there's also Stoker and Holmes, which I think maybe is a bit more steampunky. And then there's the Moral Sword, the Moral Sword, the Mortal Word, or the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Cogman. So you have different series of steampunks that I'm really into, really. I'm probably gonna do a steampunk top 5, because that's a plan I have. I think, yeah, I just think that steampunk have its often, or have it's more or less also always alternative history, but then they mix with different technologies and stuff. Just, it's so fascinating. I really like it. It's really, really fun. So yeah, that's another buzzword for me. And then other than that, buzzword. Um, well, it's a buzzword. It's not about the book, but more like if a book has chapter titles, I really like that. Especially it's fun chapter titles like Percy Jackson has or Arushan has. If a book if a book is, for example, has a map on in the start, if it needs a map, that was really cool. Uh, yeah. Is there anything else? Don't think there's that much anything else really. Just, yeah. Well, anything else? I've been battling on for 20 minutes now. So, yeah, that's a lot, really. That's pretty many. So, yeah, and those are my buzzwords. I'll link some of this in doobly-doo. So now you got to know me a bit more and my reading taste a bit more. Hope you like this video. Renee,